For those of you that for those of you that follow me on social media, you have seen this picture several times. It continues to expand with each of the little things up there, the words. This is what it feels like and probably what I look like many days over the course of a year of digging into the trucking industry, trying to figure out what's going on, and then exposing those things on the internet. But before I get into all of that, I have to tell you where I came from and why I'm doing what I'm doing. I am the product of a bull hauler and a local politician. So if that tells you anything about me, that's great. If it doesn't, you'll learn in the next few minutes. I can't just skip past these pictures though. The men on the screen, I'm incredibly proud of them. It is my grandfather and my father, obviously both truck drivers. So I was born into the industry. All they have ever done, all they've ever known is the trucking industry, which was incredibly different than what it is today. The picture on the bottom right, for you, that was my Uncle Dean. He was a bull hauler with my father. He lived in Oklahoma. He used to send me postcards from all around the country, far, far before the time I could read. I actually didn't know that my Uncle Dean wasn't my real uncle until he passed away from a heart attack. I think I was 12 or 13. No one thought to tell me that my Uncle Dean wasn't really my dad's brother, but that's how close they were. That was the camaraderie of the industry. This is the industry I grew up in, where truck drivers were professional, they were trained, they cared about their job, and when they were on the roads, they didn't just care about their truck and trailer and the cargo on it, or the cattle or bulls, they cared about everyone else around them. That is significantly different than what we have today. So before I was Danielle, the one standing in front of you, the adult Danielle, I was this little girl. Before I was senior solutions engineer at Revenova, before I was doing all of this exposing in freight fraud, I was that little girl. If I were to take that little girl out of the time that she grew up in, the industry that she grew up in, and drop her into what we have today, she would be absolutely terrified. I don't think she would recognize it. It is substantially different than the industry that I grew up in. I'm going to take a moment on this slide to make sure that you guys know what you're looking at. Unfortunately, this is not AI generated. I get sent, Justin, Gord, all of us on X get sent pictures like this or tagged in them every single day. These are trucks that are out on the roads, and they're of course hauling freight, or they would not be out on the roads. This bottom picture on the left, that one is actually a bill of lading that a company has written their company name and DOT number on. We have a napkin and a small piece of paper, 17 layers of duct tape and tape residue. The middle bottom one, I have that one pretty big. I used to make a joke that all of the mess around, like these guys would be better off if they just used like a whiteboard and Crayola markers maybe and just wrote it on there. Unfortunately, someone took that seriously, so I don't make that joke anymore. And he is using e-logs, in case you missed it. This is what's on our roads today, and it's absolutely absurd. The trucking companies, those of you that have built your reputation, your business, you care about what you're doing, these guys are hauling freight. Someone is awarding them loads, someone is loading these trucks. If you happen to be a freight broker or a shipper in the room, if you are awarding freight to anyone that looks like this, if you are loading a truck that looks like this is not legal advice, but you should change everything that you're doing to reject any carrier that looks like this. And I will tell you why in the next few minutes. So, little Danielle going into adult Danielle. Curiosity has stayed the same. I wanted to figure out, my mother used to call it nosy. I call it curiosity. I wanted to figure out what happened to the trucking industry. How did we get from this industry that provided a livelihood, provided for families, food on the table, college education, cars, houses, what have you. It provided a livelihood for guys that really cared about what they were doing. How did we get from that to the carriers and trucks you just saw on the screen, to drivers that are unqualified, I would call them incompetent, to be that behind the wheel of an 80,000-pound vehicle? So, like any sane person would do, I started at the source, and that's the FMCSA. I downloaded the company census file. If you have no idea what it looks like, I do not encourage you to download it. However, it is a little over 2.1 million rows, and it is all of the USDOTs that are currently in the FMCSA and DOT system. It does include, of course, electrician, construction companies, daycares, what have you, but also in that is the trucking companies. So I downloaded it and I started doom scrolling. And for those of you that followed me on X in the early days, that's all I did. I did not have any cool tools to help me like group things together. I was just looking at essentially an Excel sheet and scrolling and seeing what I could find. What do we know about the industry that changed from what I grew up in to 2015, 2018, and then into today? We know that the industry grew. Everyone knows that we had a surge of trucking companies, really starting in 2018, 2019, and then it skyrocketed in 2020. In the worst freight recession, possibly we could argue 2008 may have been worse, I don't know. But how do we have so many people starting trucking companies in the worst freight recession that we've ever seen? It doesn't make sense. Trucking companies are growing, the number of trucking companies out there are growing, and the rates continue to go down. Again, it did not make sense. As these numbers are growing up, we also see generational American trucking companies go bankrupt. Why are they going bankrupt? Why do we keep adding more trucking companies? Again, I didn't know. I wanted to know. Charts didn't answer the question for me. When I downloaded that file and started looking at the years, 2021 really stands out. In 2021, there were 247,531 USDOT's new registrants with the USDOT. Again, not all trucking companies. That does include freight brokers, construction, electricians, what have you. Justin gave me the great idea to run this and break it down per day, per hour, and per minute. So in 2021, with the FMCSA, who has perpetually been understaffed and underfunded, we have 678 new USDOTs every day, 28 new USDOTs every hour, and one new one came in every 2 minutes. How did we keep up with that? I have no idea. Again, FMCSA, underfunded, understaffed. Were they just approving them all? I don't know. I can't answer that. With the surge of trucking companies, the only thing that fell during this time of this freight recession were our freight rates. Everything else skyrocketed. The chart on the left is your cargo theft and identity-based theft. Skyrocketed. Exact same trend line that we see with the new trucking companies. We opened the floodgates and let anyone and everyone in that wanted in or that had $300 to get in. If we look at any other trend other than the freight rates, we're going to see the exact same trend. It all skyrocketed. The no name given, I don't have these broken out here, but this one was one of the first things that I caught on to when I was doom scrolling through the USDOT files. And I found that when you register with the FMCSA, you have your primary contact or primary officer. In some of those names, we have no given name, and then there's a first name or a last name. Yes, there's a legal explanation for this. When someone crosses the border and they encounter the Border Patrol agent, they don't have a first name, they don't have a last name, they don't understand what they're saying, so they just give one name, and then they're assigned no given name. But if we look at it, this is not something that's been happening since 2018, 15, and so on. It goes down even further. But in 2021, starting in 2021, it goes up at the same rate as the new trucking companies, freight theft, and identity theft. I will also say that the no given name trucking companies, we are one of the only industries that has company owners that have no given name. It's absolutely absurd. This is the name on their CDLs as well, because I have lots of those, and we see it. But everything skyrocketed. Everything changed within the last few years. Within the USDOT file, again, that I doom scrolled for months until I found Garrett Allen, who built search carriers. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. The first thing I did was started organizing this list by city and street address. And what I started finding was clusters or groups of USDOTs at the same address, the same street, or within a very tiny area, not a mile apart, like 2 houses apart. This is an example of that. So in this screenshot of the USDOT, I know it's very small. I'm sorry if you can't read it. I will explain. All of these, each row is a different USDOT, a different trucking company. These are all at the same apartment complex in Fresno, California. The one that I highlighted in the red box, that one doesn't even have an apartment unit. So the FMCSA, your primary place of business or principal place of business, that's where the USDOT or FMCSA is supposed to be able to show up and say, hey, we need to make sure you are who you say you are. We need to see your paperwork, your driver files, etc. They're going to go to this apartment complex and, I don't know, knock on the front door of the office and ask for the trucking company. Why we let these things happen, again, I don't know, but we do. Also in these apartment complexes, we will see that some of them are registered at the same apartment unit. Could they be roommates? Maybe. 3 owner-operators, 1 apartment. Sure, it's explainable. I can tell you that's not what is happening. It does play into the chameleon carriers that we're seeing today, but again, I will talk about that in just a moment. Also within this company census file, some of the people registering the DOTs, just like they leave off that apartment number, they think they're smart and they're not going to get caught, which they've done a really great job, actually. In this one, you'll see each row, again, a different USDOT, a different trucking company. But in this one, it is the same address with a slightly different change. So most of our data matching tools are looking for exact matches, exact addresses. This is going to pass all of those. So if you're looking at one carrier or the FMCSA is looking at one carrier and they say, no, this one's good, we don't have any matches. It's because that data is doing exact matching rather than looking at it a little bit differently. So you can see on this one, we have the abbreviation of road and then road spelled out, and you can see so on and so forth. So this is only 4 examples of that matching street address. There are thousands just like this. This one is interesting, and I actually missed this the first time. So I wrote an article for Freight Caviar last summer looking at the FMCSA database and what a mess it is. I tend to refer to it as a dumpster fire. It truly is. This one, and I included the operating authority from the FMCSA and DOT in here on purpose. But on this one, we have the same street address of 3390 Country Village Road. It's an apartment complex. But when we look at the city of this address, we have Jurupa Valley and Riverside. The first time I looked at this, I did not have those grouped together because I was organizing by city and then address. So my Jurupa Valleys and my, Riverside were separated. But when I plot these on the map, it's actually the exact same building. There are over 57 trucking companies registered at this apartment complex. It has a little over 50 units in it. So in theory, every single apartment is a truck driver in Riverside/Jurupa Valley, California. You'll notice on this one too, some of them have apartment numbers, some of them don't. Again, if it doesn't have an apartment number, the FMCSA knocks on the door of the front office, I guess. The one that I've highlighted, and going into the chameleon carriers. So chameleon carriers, they shift from one DOT to the next so they can stay in business. They run up their safety compliance scores, that vehicle and driver out of service. They can't get any freight from shippers, from brokers, what have you, or their insurance is canceling, or the FMCSA shuts them down. Rather than leaving the trucking industry, as they should, they don't. They just rebrand under another DOT number. That is what these guys are doing at these apartment complexes. Some of these, they won't run the DOT as soon as they get it. They essentially stash it in a folder, and then when one gets shut down, they will start running as the next one. We see that in real time on the one that I highlighted. So that one, same person, and the dates match up almost perfectly. One address doesn't have the apartment number, the other address does. So when he's registering, when he's going through any of the carrier vetting tools, we're looking for that one apartment, he's good to go because we don't have another one at that apartment. He left it off. But the first DOT that he had, it's now not authorized. Again, insurance, FMCSA, whatever happened, he can't operate under that one anymore. So what did he do? He had another one ready to go, and he's still on the roads when he, in theory, should have been shut down. When we zoom out a little bit and look at the physical address on the clusters, again, in the beginning, I'm doom scrolling through the 2-point-something million rows. Thankfully, my friend Garrett built search carriers and finally got us a map after begging him for a little bit of time. But this gives us the clusters of those addresses, and as we begin to zoom in, we can see the different cities. The ones that I've highlighted are in my original set where I identified those clusters and where they were coming out of. If we were to take this map and the clusters and overlay it with where freight theft, cargo theft, identity theft is happening, it matches up almost perfectly. The one that I missed is the one up in Washington State because I didn't move the search bar out of the way, but it matches up almost perfectly. If we look at the fraud in any other industry, medical tech, daycares, or learning centers, again, those clusters, those cities, those states match up almost identically. So zooming in, now that we've zoomed out and looked at the clusters, this is a neighborhood made up of 3 subdivisions in Greenwood, Indiana. Within the 3 subdivisions, there are 508 trucking companies. I don't think there's 508 houses. I didn't count them. I do not think there are. In one subdivision, which is this lower one, we have 11 houses, or 141 trucking companies. There are 11 houses with 2 quote-unquote trucking companies. 2 houses have 3 companies in them, and 2 houses have 4 companies. Again, could it be roommates? Each have their own USDOT? Sure. Again, I can tell you, and actually I've talked to the Indiana State Police, it's certainly not what they're doing in this neighborhood. This neighborhood, any of the other clusters that I've identified, they have all turned out to be places or neighborhoods or houses where we are finding mass fraud in the trucking industry and in other industries. Not always in others, but most of the time. With this one in Greenwood, Indiana, they're coming over, each guy, each person, I won't say man, some of them they register as their wife, but they are registering as many USDOT records, as many trucking companies as they can. Why do they do that? Back to the chameleon carriers. They're not going to get off the roads until someone, I don't know, impounds their truck or actually makes them get off the roads. The FMCSA is doing a better job of this now. Thankfully, the work of myself and many others, Justin, Gord, American Truckers United, work on social media, work with the administrator and Chief Derek Bars, they're starting to catch on to this, or they have caught on. Let me back up. They have caught on. They're very much aware of the issues, so they're trying to tackle it now. This is one example, hundreds of thousands, just like this one. They're not going to stop. They do not care about any rules. whether it comes to addresses, how many DOTs they can have, if their ELD is legitimate or not, if they're changing or resetting hours just so they can keep driving. They do not care. So switching gears just a little bit, moving from those bad guys to you in the room, especially owner-operators, small carriers, trucking company owners. As the FMCSA continues to ramp up enforcement, as Chief Derek Barrs focuses on the chameleon carriers, getting them out of the system and not letting them back in, they are going to get more and more desperate to continue hauling freight or stealing freight. The easiest way to do that for them is to have a trucking company and a number on the side of their truck that looks good to any carrier vetting tool, any system that a broker, a shipper has. If they cannot get that anymore, if the FMCSA goes after them and shuts every single one down, I cannot promise you they're not going to stay in the market. So what are they going to do? They're going to go after the good guys. They're going to do everything they can to get your information, your company identity, your identity, steal it, and run freight. Great case scenario, they're going to run that freight, they're going to deliver it, they're going to get paid, you're not. You're going to miss out on a few $1,000s. Worst case scenario, they steal the freight, the claim is now against you, insurance is coming after you, the shipper is coming after you, law enforcement's coming after you. And in a worst case scenario, they end up in a crash, maybe it is a fatal crash, severe injury crash, and now you have big insurance coming after you. The bad guys absolutely love you. Again, they're going to get more and more desperate. They're going to try to figure out ways to stay in the marketplace that they should have left years ago. They're going to do everything they can to get into the system, into any of your systems, whether it's email, your FMCSA profile, to be you. They would do everything they could to be you except for all of the right things. With your passwords, your FMCSA portal, that is where I'm going to focus. You have to keep your passwords and your FMCSA portal locked down. That is their entryway into stealing your company information and who you are, your reputation, your carrier profile. Making sure those passwords are set and hidden, making sure that your FMCSA portal, you have it locked down and you're checking on it. Also, you have alerts. I'm going to show you those in just a moment, where it's possible to set those up. We'll talk about passwords for just a moment. I cannot tell you the amount of times or carriers that I've talked to that someone has gotten into their FMCSA portal and their password is something like Big Truck 123. I know it's easy to remember. I know that it is in your Spiral notebook. Perfectly fine for the Spiral notebook unless you lose it or leave it on a flight somewhere. But those passwords, they're going to guess them if it is something that's easy to guess. Big Truck 123, Trucker Man, it's not going to work. Has to be a little bit better. There are great tools on the internet that you can use for your passwords. LastPass, 1Password, two great ones. They will generate passwords for you and save them so you have them, and then the bad guys can't just figure it out. Your FMCSA portal, you can log into it as many times as you possibly want to make sure that nothing is changing and the bad guys aren't getting in. When they log into your FMCSA portal, they're going to change things slightly. They're not going to change your company name. They're probably not going to change your truck count, your mileage, but they will slightly change things so they can be contacted rather than you. And then the last one, to keep up and to keep everything locked down, you can sign up for alerts. I don't know if you can really see the font there, but it's searchcarriers.com. You can sign up for alerts on searchcarriers.com. Anytime something changes on your FMCSA record, Search Carriers is going to send you an alert the next morning letting you know that something has changed. If you sign up for all alerts, you can also see the inspections that are entered from law enforcement into the FMCSA and DOT. It will send you those. But for this conversation, most importantly, is going to be the updates that are made that may not be made by you. Emails. This is one of the greatest issues, risk that I'm seeing right now, that it gets reported on social media. That's where I'm most active and pay attention. The FMCSA sent out a memo not too long ago where the fraudsters, the bad guys, they're criminals, they are sending out emails wanting you to click a link, log into your FMCSA portal, and update your information, verify who you are. As soon as you click that link, one of two things can happen. You click the link and now they have access to everything, or you click the link and it takes you to a fake login page. You enter your username or your email and your passwords, and it doesn't actually log you in. It just gives the bad guys your information. Then they can take that and log into the real FMCSA portal and change phone number, email, or your company officer. Typically, I don't see that though. More than not, it is just either the email address or the phone number. And I'll say with the email address, they only change it by one letter. So I had a case not too recently. The wife of the trucking company owner-operator called because she couldn't figure out what to do. And her email address, or their email address for the trucking company, was like yzmtrucking@whatever.com. They had changed it to yzmtruckings with an S at gmail.com. If you're not paying attention as a shipper or a broker and you get an email from this trucking company, or you're emailing the company to verify they can take the load or sending them a load tender, you may not see that slight change in the email address. And so now you've tendered a load or sent payment to someone that's not the actual trucking company. Again, with search carriers, if those changes are made, you can get alerts. If you're logging into your FMCSA portal frequently, you would also see that change being made. When that change is made, you don't just have to report it to the FMCSA. We have had much greater success reporting it to state law enforcement, particularly Indiana. Indiana is super bullish on cargo theft and freight fraud. They want everything reported to them. So if you live in Indiana, go to the Indiana State Police. You can also report suspicious emails. There's an FMCSA contact center and then the FBI. This is considered identity theft or identity theft attempts or fraud. So you can take action on it other than just reporting it or taking the loss, which I hope you don't have to do. Also in this, I would try to contact as many people in the industry as you know. If it is a freight broker that has brokered the load and you have contacted them and let them know that they're pretending to be you and it's not really you, let them know and ask them to spread that throughout their company. Freight brokers, sometimes most of the larger ones, they don't just have the one office, they have many offices. So getting that alert out to as many people as possible, letting them know what's going on, is incredibly important, because these guys, the bad guys, again, they're going to do anything they can to get as much freight as possible in as much little time until someone starts catching on. And if you need help, I will help you. And my contact information is coming soon. Those of you that work with freight brokers, there are also bad guys on the freight brokerage side, of course. If you get a load tender, if you get a carrier rate confirmation, just synonymous, but it's okay, and you do not know if it is the right email address or the right person, a 5-minute phone call is going to save you thousands of hours of headaches and probably thousands of dollars. You can call them directly, go to the carrier or the broker's FMCSA portal, look up their phone number, Google search, call their office, make sure it's actually them. Even if you have a tiny hint of something is not right here. 5-minute phone call, it's gonna save you so much headache, potentially so much money. Also within search carriers, I don't work at search carriers, I don't get paid by search carriers. search carriers, has incredible tools that will help you verify and get through some of these steps much easier than just Googling the broker or trucking company. But one thing that search carriers has is a contact verification. So you can take the email address from the email that is sent you, the freight broker, put it into search carriers and see if it actually matches with the company that's registered with the FMCSA. You'll see on this one I did, there was a probable match. So we have jitdispatch.com. It is the right company. Great. I'm going to click and view on that company. And it just so happens on the same day that I was tendered a load from this broker or carrier was booking with a broker, sorry. There was an impersonation attempt of them. So there were bad guys out there pretending to be this carrier, trying to book loads from brokers. You can do the same thing with the brokers. Put in the email, instead of it taking you to a carrier, it would take you to the broker. The phone number is there. You can call them. This one, and the reason I have this one is because the son of the owner of this trucking company sent me a message on X and was absolutely freaking out because someone had got into their email, got into their FMCSA portal, and had changed only the email address, did not change the phone number, thankfully, but they were impersonating them, and they were trying to book loads. And again, it could be good scenario. All that happens is they book a few loads, they run the freight, that's the end. Also, worst case and worst case, they steal the freight or they end up in a fatal accident. This one, the black market for USDOT and MCs, small carriers, owner-operators. I know that the thousands of dollars to sell your MC number or USDOT number is incredibly enticing. If you're ready to get out of trucking, you have an age to MC or USDOT, and you see that people are selling them or buying them for $25,000. That sounds great, and it is great. But what's going to happen more than not, or more than likely, is that someone is going to buy that from you. You may or may not get paid, and they may not switch all of the information on that record. So they may still be set up with you, and now they're just running freight as if it was you. Again, worst case scenario, nothing actually changes over besides the contact information. Something happens, the FMCSA shows up on your doorstep, insurance agents, and now you're in a lot of trouble. Also, with the selling and buying of MCs, yes, there is a legal way to do this, and it is to sell the entire business. I'm not telling you not to do that. It is legal. Go ahead. However, you want to make sure that if you are selling one of these, or if you are buying it, the legal route, that every single I and T is dotted and crossed before the other person starts running freight. If the paperwork is not done, if that business transaction, the selling, the buying, has not been completed, and they start running freight, again, it's gonna fall back to the original owner. That may be you, and you're not really responsible for anything, but in the court of law, you are responsible. If you've never seen these on Facebook, it's actually incredibly fascinating. You can just type in USDOT for sale or MC number for sale, hundreds and hundreds of them posted. When these guys get desperate, they don't want to spend $300 to get a new MC and then be locked out of all of the vetting systems and brokerages and Amazon Relay for 6 months to 2 years. They are going to buy them off of Facebook. And some of these, they're incredibly nefarious. So on some of the listings, you'll see that they are already active in systems like Highway, My Carrier Packets. The first one there, Amazon, has been rejected. So if you're an Amazon Relay carrier, you don't want to buy that one. But these MCs and USDOTs, when they sell them, they already have those active accounts with the brokers, with the carrier vetting tools. And so then when they buy it, assuming it's not a legal transaction, they're only going to slightly change some things so that they're contacted to get the freight. And we're almost done. On social media and in the trucking industry, out of all of the people that could possibly come after me for what I post, and they have legitimate reasons to do so because I'm calling out their fraudulent behavior and criminal behavior, the only people that actually come after me on social media are truckers and the trucking community, not all of them, it's a small group, pecking away on their little screens or their little phones, which is absolutely absurd. If you're here at Matt's, which all of you are here because you care about this industry and because you want to learn, you want to meet new people. I would venture to say that everyone in this room, everyone that came to Matt's this year, which is tens of thousands of people, you want to leave the trucking industry a better place than you found it. I do too. That's why I'm up here, and that's why I spend hundreds of unpaid hours digging into fraud and posting on the internet. We want to leave this industry better than we found it. I want to be able to say that I fought as hard as I could for the industry that raised me, for the industry that my grandfather built, for the industry that my father built, for the industry that all of you continue to build. So if you're on social media, if you are on your little screens, typing away with your thumbs or on your little computers, typing away with your fingers, if you're gonna say something that is not helpful to the industry, is degrading, or is gonna tear someone else down, you could be posting videos of this. Please remember that we're all on the same team. We all care about this industry just as much as the other person, and it doesn't matter if we don't agree about one thing. It's okay. We don't have to agree on everything. The FMCSA, I truly believe they are doing everything they can right now to help clean up the industry, and we need their help. They need our help also. And if we're online just arguing with each other, getting in stupid little bickering fights over nothing, it's not helpful to the industry, and it certainly does not paint a great picture for the trucking industry that we all care so much about. If we can all get along and remember that we're on the same team, productive arguments, absolutely. I'm for it, I love it. Stupid arguments, we will get a heck of a lot more done around here if we can all remember that we're on the same team, we're all working together, and we all care and are very passionate about this industry. That is my last. The QR code is going to take you to my website where you can download the slides if you would like them. Also on my website is my contact information, articles that I've written, and links to all of my social media. If you are in the, all of you are in the trucking industry. If you are not active on social media and did not hear Chief Derek Bars and Secretary Duffy talking yesterday and today, they actually watch and they are listening. So if you're not active on particularly X, I would encourage you to do so. They do watch what we do. They are listening. They are trying to help. And they care about this industry, maybe not as much as we do, but very, very closely. Thank you so much. Yes.
One other thing we can do, and I'm doing currently, is run for office. I'm running for Indiana State House, and that's something all of us can do, truly, to really change the industry. We have to do something because the government don't always hear everything. Yeah, Secretary Duffy's doing something, but the last administration's done nothing. The one before that, first Trump 1.0, did nothing. Remember that. So we really have to take it upon ourselves because there's no one really, except for maybe 3 or 4 in Washington and I guess a few in other states on the state side that know anything about trucking or involved in it. And that's where it really starts, is at the state level. And we have to get there. Because Greenwood, Indiana, if I get in, is on my hit list.
Sir, what's your name? Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Yes.
How much of this do you think is organized or just?
Oh, so much of it. So much of it. Yeah. I will say that the clusters that I come across, anytime there's, I don't get freight theft reports. That usually goes to the state, Delprax, others. I know about it, but it's not really my area of expertise. Mine is on like identifying the fraud within the industry as it exists today. Every time I run across a cluster or a network of companies that have been involved, a trucking company that's been involved in a fatal accident, it is always, 100% of the time, never fails. It is a network of companies, of individuals. A lot of it is overseas. And even with shutting down some of these trucking companies and even with freight fraud, we can cut off the head of the snake per se, but it's not going to stop anything because we really haven't, because the head of the snake is overseas. So a lot of it is organized crime. Yes, sir.
They're not just organized, they're state sponsored.
We do have that.
Yeah. A lot of these are wheeling carrier rings. It's not just criminal rings that are operating within the U.S. These are organized crime rings from other countries in Eastern Europe, South Asia, East Asia.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll say in Indiana, there's the Greenwood neighborhood I showed you, the criminality that goes in there. There are, what is Sid, congressman?
Sid Mahon.
Is he a congressman?
He's running for state Congress.
What's Caesar Morales?
He's the Secretary of State.
Okay. So we have a Secretary of State and a guy that's running for Congress that is fully involved. The one guy owns the trucking company and a freight brokerage and a CDL school, 2 CDL schools. And then the Secretary of State was his business partner on the freight brokerage. And they're fully supporting the neighborhood and the criminality going on in there. Yes, sir.
Hey, how you doing? Great information, first off. Just a couple comments. You're absolutely correct as far as the industry changing. 23-year veteran here, almost 20, driving on the road. Last couple years, freight broker, cradle to grave, and all that information up there is spot on. And I think with COVID, it just opened up the floodgates, and they made it too easy for just anybody to come in, and it just ran rampant. And second to that, a lot of people just don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, when I started looking at this, especially the doom scrolling that I was doing through the 2 million rows, it blew my mind, and it's still incredibly frustrating that all of this information has been in there for years. And I know the Delprax was on to it very early, but it seemed like no one else was paying attention. No one cared enough to look at this and bring light to it. And I realize on the brokerage side, they're working with 1, 2, 3 carriers at a time. It's very transactional. They're not doom scrolling through 2 million rows like I was. And so everyone's just moving their day to day, and no one took or thought to take a step back and really try to figure out what was going on. I think part of that, especially on the trucking company side, when we're stressed out trying to get from month to month, quarter to quarter, there's not time to step back and look and dig into some of this stuff. Thankfully, I have had the time, Justin has had the time, others in the group have had time to really step back and dig into some of this. But it's mind-blowing that it didn't come up before last year. Yes, sir.
The FMCSA has not got to where they are right now fixing this if it wasn't for your dad. So
Thank you.
Everybody that knows about this stuff, if you don't follow Danielle, you should start.
Thank you so much.
Just one comment. Whatever she has said there has happened to my trucking company. That is not imagination. I'm a victim of that. My company I started in 2016. Last year, they hacked into FMCSA. They changed my emails and my phone number. And they also hacked into my computer. So I would change the password to DAT, and they would get into that. They would book loads, and the emails will be sent to my regular email, but it will disappear in a second because once they get the rate code, they delete the email.
Oh my goodness.
So it's only by luck that we'd see, okay, there was an email here. Where did it go? Then that is how now we got to know what was happening. And then now we got to DAT and they could see my MC was being used in 5 different countries, overseas. That people are booking loads under my MC in 5 different countries at the same time. So hacking into your computers, I was only told of one solution: get rid of that computer, and that is what solved my problem. I got rid of the computers I had in the offices, and that's what solved my problem.
My gosh, I'm so sorry. But it is, I mean, you said from 5 different other countries. It is organized crime. They are sophisticated. They know what they're doing. And they are moving just as fast as we are trying to catch up and change what we're doing with technology and the rules. And then we push out the good cares, but that's another conversation for another day. Yes, sir.
Hey, do you know if the FMCSA has a way to submit tips about carriers that you think might be fraudulent, or if they have any plans to do so?
So we have the National Complaint Database. We have the National Complaint Database. You can send them in through there, or you can send them to me, or really public humiliation has been the best on this, like just posting them on the internet. I will tell you, a criminal carrier, the chances of them suing you or coming after you, I've been doing this a year and I've got 1 cease and desist letter and it was fake. So they're not going to come after you. National Complaint Database, or we can publicly humiliate and get it to the FMCSA. Yes, ma'am.
I've been in trucking for 30 years. I have my own MC. And one of the best things I've found to combat this, because it's not like fraud to you.
Yeah.
It's been around since I started.
Yeah.
But no single trucking thing that I use, whether it's ITS, DAT, FMCSA, has the same password. They're all different. It's a little more technically challenging to keep track of all those passwords and keep them safe. But if they get one, they don't have access to my entire system. Whether it's my computer, my laptop has different passwords from my desktop, has different passwords from the banking, has different passwords from Cypress's, from FMCSA, from DOT, from IRS, from Social Security. Every application I use has a completely different, they're not even similar.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Different passwords, some of them are computer generated, where it gives you this gobbledygook of numbers that you will never remember. You're going to have to write that down.
Yeah.
And some of them for less sensitive information, they're wildly different things that nobody's going to guess, because it's a weird gibberish, but it's my gibberish.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. If you use the same password for every single system, as soon as they get one, the next thing they're going to do is go to every other site possible that you're using to get freight, and they're going to try to use that password to get in. If it's the same, they're going to get in and they're going to do damage.
They're going to use some variation, like it.
Yeah.
For instance, you had trucking 123, they're going to do trucking 123 hashtag.
Yep.
Question mark. If it requires a symbol, or they're going to do trucking 456. So having wildly different passwords is great to combat that. And I've had calls in the past where freight has gone missing, where, like you said, the trucking company could be liable for it. And every time I get one of those phone calls, I ask them who they brokered it with, what the phone number was, what email they sent it to, what MC number they gave them. Sometimes they'll use our name, but it's another MC number. And the more information I have about that fraud, not only do I have the information to turn into FMCSA, the state police, and any other bodies, but I also know what they're copying in mine and what they're not. And that also gives me the proof to show to whoever was defrauded, like, well, yeah, they have the same name, they don't have the same MC, or they don't have the same DOT. This is a fraudulent carrier
Yeah.
And it saved me on at least 4 separate occasions.
Oh, thank you so much.
Hey, Dan. Hey, Danielle. First of all, great presentation. Question for you. As a leader in this industry that's looking at freight, have you or other leaders that you work with on a regular basis explored the potential to do like a transportation fraud alliance between private sector and public sector leaders? I'm comparing it to, in the early 2000s, retail fraud was a huge issue with big box stores like JCPenney, Target,
Yeah.
things like that. And they partnered with state and local leaders to create organized retail crime alliances where they could share information, best practices, and build stronger cases against organized fraud networks. Is that something that you or other leaders are looking at or have considered previously?
I know Dale works on that far more than I do. The retail organized Corca, essentially. I haven't been involved with it as much, but I know my work has been used to push some of that forward. I don't know enough about it to talk about it, honestly, Corca and the retail. But I know we are working on it as an industry and as leaders in the industry. Oh, no.
Don't.
I'm just kidding.
To the gentleman that asked where he can ask the complaint form, right? You can go online to the National Complaint Database. You could also call the regional service centers, or you can call your state local FMCSA office. They'll make sure that everything gets brought up the chain. So I've actually done through the process a few times, going through different ways.
I have too, and that's a good point that I didn't think about a minute ago. When you submit, if you're doing it the right way, which I try to do and not just escalate everything because I can, if you submit it through the National Complaint Database, then try to contact the FMCSA regional office or state office where you are and let them know that, save the report number and let them know that you have submitted it. And when I did it the last time, there wasn't like a perfect category for me to choose, so I just chose the closest one, but then I included all of my attachments and information in that email that I sent them after. Yes, ma'am.
Speaking of that, I have one other point. If you're ever rejected by a broker and they don't tell you why, ask for their compliance department. They'll tell you if it's an insurance issue, if it's that you haven't had a recent enough safety inspection if you're a newer carrier, or if they have something on their system that blacklists you from them using you. And if you're sweet about it, don't get in their face because you're asking them for information and don't take it defensively. But you ask them nicely to explain what the problem was and see if there's anything you can do to fix it. If somebody's running around impersonating you with a broker you haven't used, or one you've used before but maybe haven't used in a long time, and you're wanting to reinitiate that relationship, the compliance department, as opposed to the actual broker, often will get you that background information you need to know whether it's something you actually did or someone in your company did, or if it's somebody else using your information. And if you find out it's somebody else using your information, that's your opportunity to let them know that wasn't you, and to let them put that in the record, and also to get them to share that information with you to fill out these type of complaints.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
They could also go to data queue. If somebody's got an inspection on your DOT number, right? Stand up here a little bit. If somebody got an inspection on your DOT number, which is not your driver, not your vehicle, there is a form through FMCSA called data queue. You can get all the information that vehicle was on an insurance carrier, for example. Now, nothing indicating for you to take that inspection off your record, and that would probably get the broker to approve you. But it is a little lengthy process, not something that takes a couple hours. It will take a couple of days, sometimes weeks, but it will get the inspection off the record.
Oh, this is my new boss.
Oh, well, I wasn't even going to identify myself as that. But what I will identify myself as is an admirer of your great work. So Danielle, thank you for this passion project that you've taken on. And one of the things that's convicting to me is to hear the amount of time that you're spending, doom scrolling through 2.1 million rows of data that I have tools that readily accessible at my hands that could have done that for you within minutes. So what I can offer up to you is access to the things the data that you see, the challenges that you have,
So your time can be on your passion project and advocacy. If there's any tools from a technology standpoint that I can make available to you for you to be able to streamline the processes to get to the answers quicker instead of having to investigate the challenge, I'd like to open those things up to you. So thank you for your advocacy and thank you for representing us so well.
Thank you so much, Chris.